You are listening to the Courageously Unconventional podcast. If you want to change your life and start living on your own terms, you're in the right place. I'm your host, Lynn Grogan. I'm a certified life coach, and I want to help you take action toward creating your own unconventional life. Each week, I'll share inspiring and unconventional stories from those who have gone before you, as well as actionable steps you can take to start your own unconventional path today. Let's go! Welcome back to the Courageously Unconventional podcast. And today I'm going to dive into a topic that I think many of us can relate to: what to do when you're faced with something in your life that feels painful, challenging, or downright miserable, and how to take responsibility for it in a way that empowers you. Before we dive in, I want to acknowledge that not every challenge in life comes with straightforward solutions. Some situations are truly complex, and you might listen to this and go, no, that does not actually land for me or for what I face in life. And that is totally understandable, and I get that. I also want to recognize that the ability to explore creative solutions or make empowered choices often comes with a degree of privilege, whether that's time, resources, support systems, or even seniority in your career. The story I'm sharing today is just one example of how you could approach a challenging moment, but it's not meant to diminish the weight of what you may be going through or the unique circumstances you face. Wherever you're at, this is simply an invitation to explore what's possible for you. So let me share a story. I was talking to a client last week, and she was describing something incredibly difficult that had come up in her schedule. I won't go into too many details, but here's the gist. She was on call for an entire week, and that means that she could be called into work at any time, any hour of the day if she was needed. And she shared how challenging and disruptive this was for her, her family, her sleep, her life. And it's one of those situations that I think we can all relate to in some way. Like maybe you're not on call for work. You probably got something in your life that feels just as draining and unavoidable. So as we were talking, my client started brainstorming ways to make it more manageable. It's not like a frequent part of her schedule, but it happens often enough to cause serious stress. So before we got too far into problem solving, I asked her a question, like, does it even make sense to create solutions around this? And her first response was absolutely yes. So I followed up with another question. Does it make sense at all to do this? Like, should you create solutions to make this thing better? Or would it be better to eliminate it from your life altogether? This is a question that we don't ask ourselves nearly enough. Like our problem-solving brains want to jump straight into fixing things. How do I make this easier? How do I get through this? But we rarely pause to ask whether the thing that is causing us stress in our life even belongs there in the first place. Because we do get a choice in many things in our lives, whether we realize it or not. We just have to ask, though. So when I asked her that question, she paused. And later when we reconnected, she told me that she had been thinking about it, and she realized that, yeah, for now, this is something that she wanted to keep in her life, but she did not want to keep approaching it in the same way that she had been. Makes sense. So instead of begrudgingly accepting it or complaining about it, she decided to use it as an opportunity for creativity. And she came up with some really great ideas, like not just for herself, but for the entire system of taking call in general, and which would benefit all of her colleagues, not just her. So by taking responsibility for the situation, she shifted her mindset from this is happening to me to I am choosing this. And that shift, choosing something, gave her back all of her power. So you might be thinking like, well, that's what she wanted to do in the first place, create solutions to make this thing better. But this was different than that. In the first situation, the solutions were coming from a more disempowered place. I wouldn't say it was exactly victim mentality, but definitely from a place where she didn't feel like she had many choices in the matter, and she was reacting to that perceived experience, which is way different energy than deciding that you are choosing something and then feeling empowered to make it better. It puts you back in the driver's seat in your life. So this client's experience got me thinking, like, what are the things in life where we might not want to opt out entirely? Like maybe it's a part of a path that you're on or something that you value, even if it is super challenging and frankly might be something that you dread. So once you decide something belongs in your life, how can you stop suffering through it and start making it better? Like not pretending it's perfect, but asking like, if I'm choosing this, what could it look like? Or is there a way to enhance this experience even just a little bit? We often limit ourselves by thinking, well, this is just the way it is. And when we do that, we shut down all the possibilities of how it could be different. But when we take a step back and give ourselves the freedom to imagine other options, it opens up the door to creativity and empowerment. So here's what I'd love for you to reflect on after this episode. 1, what's one thing in your life that feels challenging, even miserable, but that you're choosing to keep in your life? 2, how might you tweak it to make it better, easier, even more enjoyable? And 3, what's one small change you could make this week to start shifting your mindset or approach? And remember, the goal isn't to fool yourself into loving something that you hate. It's to acknowledge that you're choosing the thing and you have the power to influence how it looks and feels in your life. And that shift, my friend, can make all of the difference, not just for the challenges you're facing today, but for all the challenging things you encounter moving forward. That's all for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Courageously Unconventional podcast. And if this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to share it with a friend. Until next time. Hey friend, thank you for listening to today's conversation. If you're considering a major career or lifestyle change and you want to talk to someone about this, I'm here for you. You can learn how to work with me one-on-one on my website, which is lynngrogan.com, and I also have details in the show notes. See you next time.